everybody. Welcome to the stream. Hope that little intro went through without a hitch. I am Crypto Coffee, as you probably know. If you don't know me, welcome to the stream. Hope that little intro went through without a hitch. I am Crypto Coffee. A long time. We're getting some feedback on somebody's screen. I think that's you, Jesse. Just mute the YouTube video if you have it open. But yeah, good to see all you guys today. Really happy to be here. We've got a really exciting couple of things to talk about. Hex has been on an absolute tear in anticipation of the PulseChain launch, in anticipation of people getting double their coins in the world's largest airdrop that has ever existed. And what comes along with a new project that is a fork of Ethereum is going to be, obviously projects built on top of Ethereum. And I like to choose topics to talk about and projects to talk about that I believe actually have legs. And the two people I have in the room with me are people that I've talked to before and that I'm aware of that have also been around and are OGs. But they've proven to me that they've at least got a well thought out plan. And whether or not, that comes to reality in whatever way, I'd like to talk to them about their plans and try to ask some questions, skeptical or not. I do believe these guys are OG Hex Kings and are very, very loyal and definitely believe in what they're selling. I mean, Jesse over here is showing his face. There's no anonymous developers over here. We like to keep it that way. I'm sure you can see Toshi Flow's avatar too. He's a good looking guy. And yeah, it's good to see everybody in the chat. Spike, what's up? Bailey at Brand, how's it going? DeFi Dior, as always. Crypto Kings, what's up, Jason? How you doing? Hey, Jason, real quick, let me make you a mod of the group before we get started. Jason just started a YouTube channel. His name is Crypto Kings. And everybody go follow Crypto Kings right now. He's an up-and-coming PulseChain YouTuber, among other things. So he will be helping us out along the way as we spread the good word to the entire world. All right, you're officially a moderator, Crypto Kings, and let's get right into it. Without wasting too much of your time, I don't need to talk about the price chart. You guys have probably already checked it 17 times today. It's going down. Hey, what a great time to buy the dip, right? Put your money where your mouth is. We talk about buying the dip all the time. Some people do it. Some people just keep complaining. So hopefully you're on the winning team and you're looking at this dip as an opportunity, as it usually is. I mean, we're at a 45% dip from all-time highs right now. Historically, Hex has dipped 95%, 87%, 76%, and several 50 to 60% drops. And each of those times it has come back higher. So if history tends to repeat itself, no promises. I'm not a financial advisor and I don't have a crystal ball, neither do you, but dips are typically great opportunities in the game of crypto, especially for currencies that are designed to last on the long-term scale. So hello, Jeremy Rush. Hello, Don't Panic. Hello, Inviting Freedom. How are you? How is everybody doing? It is great to see everybody here. Without further ado, I'm going to open it up to, first of all, Jesse, the pit boss right next to me here to my right. He has got a really exciting new project that has been proven with social proof on other chains, meaning it's a protocol that actually works and that we know works. And it's a way that you can potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, you can potentially get money to pay for real things in the world with a stable coin without having to sell your underlying Hex. And that seems to be the real, without having to sell your underlying Pulse token. That seems to be the real differentiating value factor in this protocol. But I want you to take us through some of the technicalities. First of all, thanks for the tip, D'Artagnan8, $5. I really appreciate that. I'll buy a Starbucks. Don't worry. But yeah, let's get right into it. Again, I'm not trying to waste anybody's time here. The project is called Liquid Loans, and Jesse is, in fact, the pit boss. So, Jesse, what is Liquid Loans?
All right. Well, Liquid Loans is a decentralized borrowing protocol. All right. Well, first off, hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day. So traditionally, when you have assets of value, outside of crypto, you own a home, you own a car, you're allowed to extract some sort of value off of that to go do the things that you want to, right? So you've got a home equity line of credit. You can draw on the value of your home, and then you can do what you want to with those funds. Same thing when you collateralize a car. You put it up as collateral. Maybe a bank holds it as a lien of sorts, but then you can go spend the money where you need to or where you want to. Imagine if you had to sell a home to go buy a second home, right? At the end of that, you're still left with just one home, right? What if you had the option to collateralize your things, and in particular in crypto, by still keeping the thing that you originally owned, but still being able to go do the things you want to in life? Okay, and the tricky part is writing a protocol that's algorithmically sound, that makes this all possible. First off, liquid loans, it's a borrowing protocol, but it's also an algorithmic stable coin. Stable coins can be tricky in the crypto industry. A lot of them are backed by fiat dollars. When you have protocols such as lending protocols and insurance protocols and stuff backed by a fiat-backed stablecoin, that comes with a lot of government oversight, a lot of counterparty risks. So how do you write, something on chain that is completely algorithmic that's not backed by fiat taxpayer dollars, right? So it doesn't have the same risks. And we've got that solution, and it is tried and true. It's a protocol that's been forked multiple times on other chains. We happen to be the ones that are bringing it to the PulseChain. And that's what we're here to tell you about: borrowing, lending, and also what all hexagons like, staking. So Toshi's going to break it down for us. He's going to talk about the use cases, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you very much. And Crypto Coffee, thank you so much for having us on today. We do appreciate it, and I want to thank the community for listening in. So thanks a lot for that. So the loan protocol, guys, just want everybody to understand that it does have three main use cases, or types of users. And obviously the most prominent is going to be the borrowers. The second is going to be stability depositors. And the third is the staker. So for borrowers, just think of investors that, are invested in Pulse tokens. They want to hold their Pulse for longer. So that way they can use our system, take out a loan in USDL, and USDL is our stable coin. So that they can they can stay invested in their Pulse and at the same time reinvest it into something else. So it's that simple. That's the borrower. The second user type are going to be the stability depositors. But first, let me go ahead and give you guys some background about how the liquidations do work, because the borrowers could be subject to liquidation, if their debt becomes too high, or if their collateral becomes too low in relation to the debt.
Do you mind if I backtrack a little bit? I'm sorry to cut you guys off, but
Sure.
For anybody that's brand new, let me just give an introduction to the user journey of how I envision a platform like Liquid Loans working on the Pulse chain, just to kind of give you a sense of what it does before we get into the technical details.
Sure.
So I'm a Pulse chain user. Let's say I'm an early adopter, or I bought in, early on after it launches, or maybe I have a big bag of some other coin, and I just have a lot of this coin, right? Let's say I got a lot of Pulse chain, but I want to use money in the real world to buy real shit. You can't just go to your store and say, hey, I got these Pulse tokens, let me buy a cup of coffee. Nobody cares.
Right.
How do you extract value out of a system that is actually worth money, that people are willing to pay for this coin with money, without actually having to spend the token or even sell the token? Well, the premise of Liquid Loans is quite simple. And we'll break down into the complexities, but the premise is, instead of having to sell my Pulse chain token and cash in for gains to then do stuff in the real world, why not take out a loan and use my Pulse token as collateral for the loan? So if people don't know, when you take out a loan, you have to put up collateral that backs your loan. This collateral basically entitles you to take out a certain number of dollars, because in the case where you can't actually repay the loan, they'll just liquidate that number of dollars, and they'll basically get rid of your collateral and sell it off so that they can pay back the loan on their end. And this is what typically happens at a bank. Loans are a pretty universal concept. But the idea of collateralization, just if anybody's new to this whole idea, is basically you're putting up your resources in order to get the loan, but the loan is backed by things that you already own. And people can collateralize their houses, their cars. There's different ways of collateralizing different assets that you own. And in this particular system, I would put up, let's say, 100,000 Pulse chain tokens, in return, I would get a certain amount of USDL. USDL is the stable coin that we're talking about, and USDL is always algorithmically backed to a dollar through arbitrage and the things that we'll get into. But you can then use these USDL loans that you get for investing in other things in the real world. Let's say you want to start a business, you want to buy an Airbnb, something to help generate future income. Maybe you're totally reckless and you want to use your loan to do trading. I would never advise that, but some people probably will. You can then get this, basically what's virtual cash. And all you have to do is put up your PLS token as collateral. This gives you the freedom to interact in the real world with something of value that everybody recognizes, because one USDL will always be worth $1. And that's the basic premise, right? And rather than having to sell your Pulse on the open market and thus pushing the price down to then extract value out of the system, you can take out the loan while using your collateral to back the system and use that USDL in a way that's hopefully productive, that produces more money, right? That creates a productive asset. And if not, and if you default on your loan, rather than the other party having to sell the Pulse chain down, to sell the price down, it's actually, rather than being sold on the open market, it is distributed amongst a group of what's called stability providers. These stability providers provide stable coins into the pool that, because they're also bullish, if you are bullish on PLS token, you may want to be a stability provider, because in the rare case that people do default on their loans, you're actually getting a portion of their PLS token, and that collateral goes to you. So in a scenario where somebody can't pay their loan back, they pay you back in PLS. So the PLS never actually gets sold on the open market. It's great for the price. The original user gets to keep their USDL stablecoin, but they lose all their collateral and they lose their opportunity of holding PLS token, which, as we know, we're all very bullish on and might increase in price in the future. That might have been a little overcomplicated way to describe it, but I'm just trying to dumb it down for the new guys. And
sure,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what's going to give people a way of investing into the stability depositor pool. Again, the reason they do that is because with every liquidation that occurs, even though they lose some portion of the USDL stablecoin, they would also gain the collateral in Pulse from that position. Okay. And normally there would be a net positive difference, so that the liquidations would be beneficial to them. And also there is a second incentive. Also, they get back a continuous payout or reward in the protocol's native token, and that would be the loan token. Okay. And that loan token, that brings us to the third use case, which is the staking of that actual loan protocol token. So the loan token, it can be staked, and it will become eligible for receiving the protocol fees. So the initiation fees for, starting the loan, all of the people that are coming into the protocol and taking loans, those fees actually go to the stakers. They don't come to Liquid Loans. We don't do something with that. All these fees actually that are generated from the protocol, which are anywhere from 0.5 to 5%, and that's always going to depend on the overall health of the system. But those fees actually go right over to the stakers. Okay, we have 2 fees, and those would just accumulate for the stakers of the actual loan token. And that's basically the main 3 use cases there.
And so just to echo that, when you sell a token on the open market, that also creates a taxable event for yourself in the real world. What I picture Liquid Loans being, based on my past conversations with these people, is this is a way to extract value out of the system without creating a taxable event for yourself. Without creating a sell event, you are not taxed by the government, and loans are taxed a lot differently. So you actually have more freedom as long as the price of HEX, doesn't dip past the point of your liquidation point. You are free to use this USDL in a way that you technically didn't actually sell your tokens. You still have them backing your collateral for that loan.
Yeah, let me talk on that for a second. So right now our option is to take our coins, if we want to get some value out of them, and take them straight to Uniswap or Matcher or any other platform, any DEX, and sell them. Right? And the moment you do that, because of how these automated market makers work, you're literally dumping the price on you incrementally for the amount that you're trying to sell. Not only are you doing that to yourself, you're doing that to everybody else. So while you may bring in what you thought was, say, $100,000, by the time, if you were to market, sell through an automated market maker, you may come out of there with $90,000 to $95,000. Okay, and that hurts everybody. It dumps the price for all. You're also losing your pulse when you do that. They're gone. They're no longer yours. And then you incur some sort of taxable event, and that could be anywhere between 20 and 40%, right? So all very bad things, right? The idea in crypto is hold on tight, get in early, hold on for dear life. But you can't do that for the rest of eternity. You have to extract some sort of value somehow. So your options are sell with all the effects that I told you, or what if you just collateralize and you can extract some form of at risk, and we'll explain the risks, but extract some value in the form of a stable coin. Now you can go do the things that you want. And if you do it responsibly, perhaps you'll be able to hold on to those pulse forever. Okay.
Yeah. But now let me ask this though. You're extracting the value in terms of USDL. So could you walk us through how we can have peace of mind knowing that one USDL will only always equal $1, allegedly?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're literally minting your own USDL. Now, the same process works through bridges. When you lock up one asset, it mints you another asset. You can take it onto the other chain. This also happens on some of the bigger, well-known platforms like TUSD. You bring in an asset, such as even fiat, it locks that up. It mints you a stable coin. Well, here you're bringing in PulseCoin, more pulse, more dollar value than you're about to mint, right? The minimum that you have to bring in, the lowest collateralization level that you would be allowed in this protocol would be 110%. You're putting yourself at some risk there if you just bring in 110%. But let's say you bring in $110,000 worth of pulse. Let's just say worst case scenario, you're accepting that risk. You could be liquidated. Let's walk through what happens and what the different things that could happen. You bring in $110,000 for the pulse, and it literally locks it into a vault for you. Out of thin air, backed by the value of that vault, you are minted $100,000 worth of stablecoin. That's yours. You just participated in the stablecoin factory. Okay. Now, if the value of what you locked up falls below 110, you can get liquidated. Somebody will go ahead and trigger that liquidation. It will remove those pulse and send them to the stability providers, which we'll get to. Okay, they're gone. They don't get sold, and they don't go to an auction. They're simply transferred to some people who are providing stability. Let me back up for a second. At any point, you're allowed to pay off the value of your loan. So if you took $100,000 loan, you got $100,000 worth of stablecoin. At any point, you can come back and you can start repaying that. You have to bring some stablecoin back into the system. And what happens is that stablecoin burns itself and it releases some pulse, right? So you minted the stablecoin out of thin air, but when you bring it back to pay back a loan, it simply burns and releases that value worth of pulse. Okay. Now let's say the value goes up. Let's say pulse goes up in value. Let's say 100x's, like we all wish it will, quickly, right? You'll have a big, giant collateralization level there. Okay, you'll be heavily over collateralized. Your liquidation point will be so low that maybe you're not concerned about it. But you can withdraw any of those pulse over 110% at any point, even while the loan is open. You can go into the protocol, you can see your collateralization level, you can say, I want to withdraw some of this pulse. Or you can go in and say, my collateralization level is such that maybe I'll just press the button here and I'll mint some extra stable coin for myself. And I'll keep extracting this value in the form of a loan. Okay, the option
to that, right? Because the more you try to extract, and the lower your collateralization rate becomes, and the more prone you are to liquidation events. So
Correct.
I wouldn't recommend personally anybody try to go in with the bare minimum liquidation rate. I would hope
Correct.
that people try to go a little bit higher. But yes, like Jesse was saying, as the price of Pulse PLS increases, you do become safer because you're protected from these, hypothetical drops. Now, let's say I take out a big loan for 100,000 USDL and I just dump it on the open market. What keeps the price of that USDL at $1?
Right. So that USDL is always redeemable for $1 worth of Pulse built into the protocol.
That's what it is, right? So it's always the real crux here is that because PLS always has a price that is based in USD, government USD, your USDL will always be redeemable for PLS, which in theory is always redeemable for USD, right? So that is, I think, what clicked for me, where I was like, oh, well, these are only backed by the price of the asset, which is then in turn backed by a government fiat currency.
Right. Now, this actually happens a lot in stablecoins. You'll even find USDT, USDC, sometimes trading at like 99.5 cents. And it's not there long. It's only there for, a couple minutes at most, right? Because people take that and they arbitrage it. Now, in our system, the same thing. It is redeemable, even if it's trading at 99.5 cents. You can take that and you can redeem that for $1 worth of Pulse. But to keep the whales honest, there's actually a small fee that's taken out of the Pulse, and that's paid to the stakers of the native coin so that whales can't take advantage of this system.
That was my other question to you earlier. And I think that just answers it. Yeah, what if a giant whale tries to continue to iterate and basically yield farm this to oblivion, right?
He'll just eat himself with fees. He'll just keep eating those fees. He won't like them.
Right.
It will increase his likelihood of being liquidated to such a thin level that it'll eventually all crumble and cascade down and everything will liquidate.
Right. And let me talk about cascading liquidations. So in other borrowing protocols, what happens is the collateral is taken and it's either sent immediately to Uniswap with a bot and that collateral is sold, which then dumps the price further, which triggers other people's liquidation levels. And it just keeps compounding the problem. That's called a cascading liquidation.
Right. So I doubt somebody that's trying to game the system could really get more than a few iterations out of this without really shooting himself in the foot.
Right. Now, this protocol doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all. So I told you could pay back a loan by bringing back stablecoin. That stablecoin burns itself and it releases that value of Pulse. Okay. But let's say that you were very low collateralization level, which, by the way, we can talk a little bit later about. The system has a health level that encourages people to have higher collateralization so that so that we just see very few liquidations. Okay.
There's a white paper. There's a white paper.
Now let's say that somebody's Pulse gets liquidated. What have they lost? If somebody was holding $200,000 worth of Pulse coin and they were holding it liquid, let's say the market dumped 50%. At the end of that dump, they're left holding liquid $100,000 worth of Pulse coin, right? They lost half the value. Really nothing different is happening in this protocol. Let's say you locked up $200,000 worth of Pulse coin and you had taken a $100,000 loan. If the market dumps 50% for Pulse, that Pulse will hit the liquidation level. That person would lose their Pulse. But the borrower is already holding $100,000 worth of stablecoin. Okay, so instead of the end of that big dump, they're left holding Pulse. They're still left holding stable. They have the option to purchase back in if they wanted to.
And that's
now in a liquidation. Here's what happens. Somebody else is paying off the loan. So you've got a big giant stability pool, cram-packed full of USDL coins and a lot of participators, stability providers, and they're providing the reserve in case of any of these liquidations. Kind of like it's just a big giant reserve pool of stablecoin. If there's a liquidation, a borrower's pulse will get taken, distributed to all the stability providers, and those stability providers burn the equivalent number of USDL that borrower had gotten in the form of a loan. The loan is paid off, smart contracts closed. The stability providers just got Pulse at a 10% discount.
Right.
The person who was just liquidated, maybe they had lost 10%, but maybe they still had a tax advantage because they had taken everything out.
And that's what incentivizes both sides, right? So we talked about the benefit of taking a loan, but the benefit of being a stability provider is, given that you're bullish on Pulse, in the event of a liquidation, you're actually basically getting some Pulse for yourself at a discount of whatever the guy's collateralization rate was. Going back to the topic of how is USDL tied to USD, we know it is because it's tied to PLS, which is then tied to the USD. We have a comment here, but USDL is losing value fast. You really have to extrapolate on that comment and say losing value in terms of what? I mean, the comment doesn't make too much sense because one USD is always one USD, right? And so it might be losing value compared to other currencies and stuff, but when you say losing value, you always have to compare value compared to what other asset. Now, we did have another decent question above, and it was about government risk, right? Essentially, I don't have it right here, but the question was, here it is. If we're calling it a loan, what if the regulators come in and say, hey, you're not an official licensed loan platform, fuck you, you can't do this. My take on this, tell me if I'm right, is that because it's a decentralized protocol with no admin keys that's not owned by anybody, essentially it can't be shut off and it falls outside the realm of regulation, we hope. And the only way that we know of to fall outside of regulation is by not having admin keys, by not having a central party that controls it. Can you talk about how Liquid Loans operates without a middleman?
Right. So we're not issuing the loan. You are issuing the loan through a smart contract in the protocol. Once the protocol is deployed, the code is immutable. It's trustless. There's no admin keys, no counterparty risk. And it's simply on the blockchain with the community and wallet addresses that are making the whole thing function.
Right. So just like the government can't come in and tell you
entity that's issuing a loan to you.
Yeah. In the same way the government can't tell you that Hex can't pay you interest, they can't tell you that the loan protocol won't do what it says it's going to do. It's literally just a block of code that lives on a blockchain. Now, I think it's pretty far insulated from government risk, but that is something to always keep in mind. You know, nothing is completely insulated, but the lack of admin keys and the algorithmic nature of this project gives it as much insulation as anything really can be that we know of.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of real estate companies. So we've been approached by, real estate companies that really like this protocol. They really like the algorithmic stablecoin. They want to be able to offer properties to, decentralized finance investors. And they're excited. We're having talks with them. They're looking at this and saying, wow, because they were looking at Bitcoin and, so a lot of them. And, to look at Bitcoin, if they were to accept that and then the price of Bitcoin drops and, it's just different. It's riskier, in the overall view of it. So they like the stable coin, that it's algorithmic and tied to the, the native chains, the native token of the blockchain. And not only that, they're looking at helping the chain adopt. So meaning their customers, they want to send their customers into the Pulse chain to buy Pulse and then bring it into the protocol and take a loan and purchase properties through them as well. So it's a nice thing to be able to have to gain adoption through these types of companies. And I think we're, this type of protocol can start to bridge the gap between, real estate and decentralized finance. And it also gives real estate companies to participate. So not only can they offer properties, they can also participate into the protocol itself. So they're pretty excited to have the opportunity to do that.
Right. And now I'm still trying to poke holes in this system because I'm a healthy amount of skeptical, right? I do like everything I've heard so far, but I do want to know what could go wrong. And I want to get into, the thing about Liquid Loans is that there's a precedent that's been set for this project because apparently it exists on the AVAX Avalanche blockchain already. And what I gather is that we're taking, basically the protocol from AVAX. We're improving it, and we're putting it on PulseChain. Can you tell me how Liquid Loans has been battle tested on AVAX and hardened then on PulseChain?
Well, it's on a number of different blockchains. It's very new on AVAX. I can't say the name of that project here, right? But it's performing very well. It's working as intended. On the Ethereum chain, it's been through, I think, a 60% market dip. It's come out of the other side completely healthy. Yes, there were some liquidations, but remember, the borrowers got their money at the front end. The stability providers simply covered the loan and acquired those Ethereum on the Ethereum chain, very much like an automated market maker. So you gotta imagine an automated market maker. On one side, we just call them the borrowers. On the other side, we call them the stability providers. Okay.
Right.
Now, I do want to mention something here. We all love delayed gratification. We love staking. There's a whole nother side to this that we haven't even got to, and that's staking. You can stake the native token. First off, you can acquire the native token, and you can turn around and you can stake it to earn the fees. So here's how that works. So every loan has a fee that's attached to it. Now, there's zero interest, there's zero repayment terms, but there is a fee. That fee ranges from 0.5 to 5% based on the health of the overall system. All right. The system is looking for a very healthy, robust collateralization level. The closer that collateralization level starts falling towards 150%, the higher the fee will be, which will discourage new borrowers from coming in. Nobody wants to come take a loan at 5%, right? You'd rather take a loan if you only have to pay 0.5%, right? So as the collateralization level across all of the users starts climbing, that fee starts dropping. And it keeps the health of the system in such where you actually see very low liquidation. So over on Ethereum chain, you see an average of around 300%. Same thing over on AVAX. You see people collateralized thousands of percent. Those people keep themselves very, very far away from liquidation levels. But the overall health of all of these forks of this protocol is very, very good. Now, where does that fee go? Stability providers who are providing stablecoin into the reserve pool, the stability pool, are farming the native token. That native token is called the loan token. Now, unlike other protocols that have a duct tape on token that doesn't do anything, this token is actually required. You stake it and you earn the fees from the loans. So only those that own the native token of this protocol and decide to stake it proportionally in that staking pool will get their portion of the fees, which is payable in USDL. So imagine owning this loan token, locking it up, and then getting some of that delayed gratification, that slow roll of funds coming in, and it's a residual income of USDL.
Right. That all makes sense, and that's a great incentive for people to be on the other side of the equation, being stability providers. Adding a secondary token to the system does align incentives with them. I guess I'm wondering right now, in times of high volatility, like we can probably expect when PulseChain launches, there's going to be very high volatility, right? Cryptocurrencies have been known to drop anywhere from 80 to 90% every once in a while. I feel like launching this protocol at the same moment that PulseChain launches might be very risky because you're exposing yourself. A lot of people taking out these loans would be exposing themselves to massive liquidation events in the case where the price does dip 90%. What are your plans for that?
Yep. So we are actually, we aren't going to launch. We decided as a team not to launch this protocol, right at the PulseChain launch. We want to wait till, it's been running and the market settles and things of that nature. Because we don't want people to get wrecked. We don't want to see that. And we're also trying to educate people on how to properly collateralize. Do this conservatively, right? and do it the smart way, not try and, for example, run a loop. Like I've had people say like, oh, well, what if I take a loan and then I get USDL and then I run and I go grab more Pulse and then I come back in and I go back into the protocol and I get another loan, and you keep doing that. You run a loop, right, until you end up with just a few stable coin, right? And that's it, right? So that's not good. We don't want people to use the system in that nature, because what do you end up? What if they do get liquidated, right? Then they're just holding a few stable coin. It doesn't hurt the price of Pulse. Actually, it pumps it, right? It doesn't hurt the protocol either. It's only going to affect the individual that uses it in that type of manner. So that's why we have the education, and we don't want to rush this out there and let people go wreck themselves. We want to, educate the community, because again, this is by the community for the community. That's why we're not collecting the fees. The stakers are getting the fees. We want to educate people within our Telegram and teach them how to properly use it so they don't go make those stupid mistakes, right? So, yeah, hope that answers that question.
Yeah, so maybe you'll hold off until environments are less volatile. It's always a risk, though. I mean, cryptocurrency is the most volatile asset in the world. It's also the most profitable asset known to mankind. So that could happen. And anybody that does want to poke holes in this system, go to the Telegram group, t.me/liquid loans. You'll be able to ask more in-depth questions than maybe we're asking here about how this could potentially go wrong. But again, one, there is precedent for it. Two, there's incentives on both sides. And three, there's no admin keys, and it's a way for you to extract value from a system without having to sell the underlying asset. These are all good things, right? But again, keeping a healthy amount of skepticism, we want to try to look for where it could go wrong. Jesse's got a sexy new white paper there. If you know how to read and you have an attention span longer than a couple seconds, please go read that white paper and ask a much more educated question. Because right now I'm in the boat where I like this a lot. I'm trying to figure out how it could possibly go wrong. My only thing is, nefarious actors. What if you're like the biggest whale in the system on, let's say, the stability provider side, and you're also trying to take out loans, and let's say you voluntarily default on these loans just to pay yourself back all the collateral that you put up because you're the majority of the stability provider as well. Now, Jesse, I think you told me that would never happen, and can you get into maybe that situation?
Yeah. So first off, to obtain the stable coin that you're going to put into the stability pool, you have to obtain a loan, right? You can buy it on the open market.
Yeah.
Or you have to obtain a loan. So you've already locked up your Pulse coin. So if the idea is you're going to lock up Pulse coin and then dump the price of Pulse so you can go lose that Pulse and then obtain them over in your right hand that you just let go of in the left hand. And remember, there's fees in between there. Yep. Well, you're just harming yourself.
Seems pretty good, man. I'll really have to think about this a lot, but I mean, it does seem pretty awesome. Anybody in the chat have any questions for these guys? Well, we've got them on the line. I think they've explained pretty much the dynamics of the system, but again, go read the actual white paper to get more info.
Sure. Also, in regards to the white paper, we are, we do encourage people to go through it and read it and absorb what you can. If you have questions, we're here to answer those questions. We also, we have a film crew right now that are creating, 40 or so educational, informational videos to further help educate the community on how to use this protocol correctly. And so we will be releasing those when they're ready. So, but we do encourage people, please come to the Telegram, join in, read the white paper and ask questions. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be something I'm keeping a close eye on. Again, I'm very interested in it. I'll be following it for sure until it launches. And I'll be in the Telegram group too. So looking forward to coming out with more educational content once products are actually released, once the website is released. I'm not sure if we're done with this topic, but before we do end, we'll end at about an hour. I wanted to ask Toshi Flo his thoughts about a totally different topic. So if we can do a complete 180 right now, this might be more in the Toshi Flo realm, but everyone's spending way too much money on their NFTs. People seem to like collecting JPEGs for whatever reason, and they're being priced out of it because it's way too expensive to mint NFTs. And with PulseChain, we're going to solve this problem, right? We're going to have NFT minting for pennies on the dollar. Toshi, do you know anything about potential NFT platform being forked or coming to PulseChain?
Oh, wow. So, I'm sure there'll be I'm sure there'll be a few of those out there, right? I don't think that we'll see one by any means. I think that makes sense to do that. I mean, look, not just the ERC20s are getting copied, but all the NFTs, right, are getting copied as well. So that's pretty cool. So if you own NFTs, whether it's, Bored Apes or whatever it is, and you just go in MetaMask and you change your RPC settings and you see a copy of those NFTs, in your MetaMask, it's going to be pretty enticing to know that, hey, wow, I have these on PulseChain now. What am I going to do with them? What's the marketplace look like? Let me go look around. So
yeah, but the servers won't be up, so they can't actually view their JPEGs because it's really relied on a central server.
Right.
You got the serial code though. You got the barcode.
Right. But I think eventually it's going to be huge because, I mean, look, if you're an NFT, if you buy NFTs, we were talking about this the other day, if you want, and it goes as small as like, look, if I wanted to go buy an NFT that was worth $5, I couldn't do that on Ethereum. I'm going to pay, $65 to have something worth $5 just because of the gas, or maybe more. You could actually, once this is up and running, because of the fees of PulseChain, you could buy something that's $5 that's really worth $5. Also for collectors, I mean, or, people that are NFT creators that are building collections. I mean, right now, if you do a 10,000 collection of NFTs and you're going to release them on, for example, Ethereum, you're going to pay like 4,000 at least, somewhere around $4,000 in gas, right? Just to write that contract. So on PulseChain, it's going to be just pennies to do those collections. So we're going to see, I believe we're going to see massive NFT adoption there on the creator side. I'm excited for it. And I think that PulseChain needs that type of adoption as well. Hey, and Richard, I know Richard's not huge on NFTs. I get it. Right. But I think it could bring a lot of adoption to the chain. And I think that we'll see that.
Cool, man. Very cool. Yeah. I mean, it would be, the thing about NFTs is, they're all getting forked over. Everyone's going to have their copy, but no one's going to be able to view them without this middleware, right? These websites that host your file that you paid 10 grand for. So I don't know. Maybe my view's a little more cynical about NFTs, but it would be nice just for the sake of adoption for people to not only have their NFTs, but to be able to fork the servers and the code that lets them view them.
There, you're talking about the server, the IFPS.
I'm talking about like an OpenSea for PulseChain, basically. It would be nice, but I don't know of anybody doing that. I just didn't know if you had any more insight. I'm not aware of anything.
I'm sure it's happening. More to come on that, but yeah, it's all there.
Cool, man. Didn't mean to do it complete 180 on you. I just was cool. Wondering. It's a question that I get asked a lot too. So
sure.
Well, awesome. We've got 200 people listening. Is there any more nuance with this liquid loans thing? Going back to that, about the the secondary token, or ways that people can get involved early on. Anything you guys want to talk about?
So we'll have more details on any early on adoption soon in our Telegram, t.me/liquid loans. More details to follow. We're working through those now, but I can't speak about them at the moment.
Cool, man. Well, I love it, guys. And unfortunately, I'm not getting too many questions in the chat, other than everyone's chomping at the bit to get in early or whatever. It seems cool. But again, guys, really try to ask some critical questions here, because now's your time. And if there's nothing else we want to talk about, we can wrap up. What do you guys think?
We love the questions. Don't hold back, guys.
Yeah, seriously. Again, this is one of the top things I'm interested in. I've heard about 2 or 3 different projects that I'm actually very interested in. This is one of them. I'm going to be involved in the Telegram group, and I'm going to be asking questions, going to be doing what I can to,
Here's a question. Somebody's got a question.
All right. Who gets the appreciation if the loan PLS goes up? The stability pool or the one who loaned it?
All right. So the question's a little weird. I think I know what you mean. So you collateralize your Pulse, and then you mint yourself some stablecoin. Okay. And let's say the value of the Pulse goes up. You get that. It's yours.
Yeah.
You can take it out at any time. anytime you can take that out, or you can click a button and mint more stable off of that appreciated value.
Exactly. You don't
Yeah,
have to mint more stable, but the price went
yeah,
up, and that's yours.
yeah. I think what and people have asked this before. I think the main thing to understand is like, look, you're only owed, you only owe what you actually took the loan on, the dollar amount at the beginning when you actually took it. Meaning, like, just because the price of Pulse went up doesn't mean that you're going to owe more. I get asked. I think that's what they're trying to ask. So no, answer is no. You wouldn't owe more if the price of Pulse
your
goes up.
collateralization rate just is better that way. I mean,
Correct. Exactly.
So Crypto Mama's got a good one. What about oracles? Who's dictating the price here? Are you going to use Uniswap as the oracle?
Yeah. So there's actually multiple options. You'll see in the code when it is open source. You all will see it soon. But there's multiple oracles being used, not just one. In case one, because all oracles have a level of centralization to them when they do their price calls.
Yep. I know Uniswap itself is an oracle. Chainlink maybe, but I'm sure you guys have some cards up your sleeve there. We'll learn more.
We do.
Will there be a referral program, Stephen Saunders?
Say that question again. Where's that at?
Will there be a referral program? I mean, I think if the product is good enough, it should speak for itself. But what about that?
We haven't talked about any sort of referral program.
Cool. Can you talk about redeeming USDL? I think we did.
Take it to Uniswap or send it to the bridge and extract whatever value you'd like out of it in whatever form or fashion you'd like. You will find this traded. I'm sure you'll find a pairing against Hex and all the other PRC20s. And some of the beautiful thing about some DEXs like Uniswap is you actually don't need a pairing of it against all 40,000 PRC20s. You really only need a handful of them because it does all the automatic routing for you in the background, right? So if the thing you want to trade your USDL for doesn't have a pairing, it's fine. It'll swap your USDL for some Pulse, and it'll take that Pulse and then swap it for the thing that you wanted.
Will you be able to? I've got a question from my own head. Will you be able to collateralize starting off with anything besides PLS, or is it going to be only PLS?
That's an interesting topic, right? So you don't want to hinge the collateral on a token that could have admin keys, that could have tokenomic problems,
counterparty risk.
Yeah, counterparty risk. That could, how about a bunch of the supply is, in weird places? It's just not a good idea. There are some good protocols that this could work on. Of course, people have asked about Hex.
So what about Hex? I want to take out a loan for my Hex.
That's not in the works at the moment. Doesn't mean that we couldn't approach that idea. Listen, we would have to do a really in-depth economic study and determine, is this what's best for the community? Does this help people? Does this help or hurt stakers? Does this because we certainly are here to give a product to the community that helps everybody, that lowers some of the selling pressure, that gives people some options, that allow people to stake and do the things that we like to do, but not at the risk of the overall community.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what happens if there's just a flash crash for a few seconds? What if you get wrecked? I think that's where the oracles come in, using multiple, right? If there's a flash crash on one, you want to average or take the median between several, because you don't want one source of truth to basically fuck your whole loan up. Am I right?
Yeah, but that's not the only thing that protects you. So there is no bot that is running the function for liquidation. The liquidations are conducted by the community. Everything about this is done by the community. It's not automatic. So very much like Hex, when you have to, if you'd like to go in and do a good accounting function on somebody's Hex, if you want to liquidate an account, you see one that's dropped down to 110% collateralization, you go in, you connect into MetaMask Connect, you see that one, and you click the button. And oh, by the way, you are incentivized to do that.
You
right?
get them. You get more. You get Pulse at a great rate if you.
Right. You're actually, when you do that, you're sending that Pulse to the stability providers, right? It's liquidating that Pulse from that loan, sending that collateralized Pulse to the stability providers, but you get $200 and you get a percentage of that Pulse as well. So the community is incentivized to maintain the system and do what's right for the protocol itself, but it's not automatic. So a big, real fast wick, it will be fine.
All right. So I love the you have to click the button thing. That's huge in Hex, and it's huge in any project without admin keys that is really driven by the user. So if you are a stability provider and you notice a loan going under its collateralization rate, and you want that cheap Pulse, you want to take that guy's Pulse for pennies on the dollar, you have to do it. Now, I guess couldn't that be automated, by bots or something like that?
We always had that risk, right? The code is open source. I'm sure people are going to write some sort of front ends. There's going to be people. Maybe you'll find somebody will want to write a front end that prints out a nice loan document of some sort. Maybe there's another front end that makes it fast and easy to click that button I talked about. We're going to see all sorts of things built around this, I'm sure, and we can't prevent the bots. There's no way to stop them.
Yeah. That's what happens with a free economic system. At Foam says no prepayment penalty, any line of credit option, as needed credit option, or fixed only. I'm having a hard time understanding that question. No prepayment penalty.
So there's actually no payment terms. You can have an open loan for eternity. There's zero interest. The protocol only cares that the collateral is enough to support what was minted to you. So you can pay that back at any time. You cannot pay it back at any time. You can top it up. You can withdraw it.
There's no interest rate that you have to pay.
Yeah, there's no interest. None.
Wow.
And you can, like Joe said, you can top up your loan. So if you feel like, like maybe the market dipped a little bit and you don't feel comfortable about the collateralization level that maybe you're at, you're not liquidated, right? But you can top up your loan and actually, push that, over and just over collateralize yourself further.
Wow. Yeah. Very, very cool. Any penalties for early payoff? I don't know why you'd penalize somebody for early payoff.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. Good questions, though. Good questions. What else we got, guys? Someone says Magic Carpet Ride. Very crazy, very interested. Yeah, this is a big idea. And, I think it's got legs. So I'm interested. 180 people here are interested. Questions are drying up. So it's great having you on. I think it's awesome. Again, I really wish you guys the best. And if there's any last words you guys want to throw in, let me know.
Sure, Crypto Coffee. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for having us on today. We do really appreciate that. And for everybody out there, if you are interested, please come visit us on Telegram, t.me/liquid loans. Thanks again, man. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I hope that everyone here joins the never selling crew. All right. I certainly don't want to sell any of my crypto. That's why we're here today. Yep, t.me/liquid loans. There's plenty of help in there. There's some admins. There's some team members. I go in there several times a day to answer people's questions. There's a white paper in there. Check it out. t.me/liquid loans. Thank you.
Good stuff, guys. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you on the next one.
Thank you.